Okay, we can continue. Just another thing. Please tell me if the font is legible enough here, if you can read the font very well. Good. Okay, let's use a display which is a background which is less confusing than that. So here, okay. Here we want when we create the user, we also add eval. As you can see, the set user call doesn't have to be a single line, but you can add or remove capabilities to the user later. And finally, I try to execute eval, Redis call inc x 0. Okay. Let's see unknown command. Okay. Okay. Okay, the context now works as expected. As you can see, the context is Lua now. The object is correct. Username and yeah, everything is working as expected. Okay, there is another place where we are not trapping the problem, which is the one I was referring to earlier. Basically, multi-exec is checked 2 times. The first is when the command is accumulated for the transaction to later happen, and the second is during the exec. I think that here here it's still flagged as multi, so it should work as expected here as well. Okay, so let's get this call and execute this call here as well. Okay, wait a moment. There is a problem in this code here, because this should be no, it's okay. This one should be a pointer. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, I will hire Wealth. I think I will give him a very important position inside the Redis organization, like king of the world of Redis. So yeah, request accepted for sure. And now it's time to write a few tests. We are not yet finished with the implementation. So implement log reset done. Ability to configure the max number with that, document the ACL comment, we want the ACL, fail login attempts. We miss a lot of things, but now it's time to start writing the tests. Otherwise, later it will be like terrible to implement everything from scratch. As you can maybe already know, the TCL tests are written using the TCL language. So, right now we can execute the tests that we already got. Okay, we can add now the tests for the ACL log. Okay, this is the most basic test that we can have, and we can mostly cut and paste this stuff here. Okay. Let's see if the general idea works of creating this user and generating an error and then returning back to the default user, and see again that no, out it's not needed actually, because out is allowed always. Okay. This is not valid TCL. Okay. Count one, reason, blah, 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 blah. Count two. Object, username. New user. I don't understand why here we have multiple failures. Oh, sure, because there were other failures before and we want ACL log reset. Okay, we will try ACL log reset later as a test, just we now use as a utility. Okay, now we have a single entry, count one, reason command, context top level, object get, username undirects. I think that since this is an associative list, like field value, TCL is able to handle it like if it was an hash from the TCL point of view. But the command is not hash in TCL, how it's called, get map, I don't remember. Let's check. Dict get. Let's see if it works. Okay, what's the problem here? Execute the missing value to go with key. Dict get. Okay. Dict get dictionary value key. And this looks like it's correct. However, okay, this is actually a list of entries. So I have to extract the first one and then I can get it. So there was a format error. Okay, as you can see, I have anti-reds printed here. So let's do like set my entry, this stuff here. Okay, now we can say assert dict get entry username equal the string anti-reds. Okay, let's see if the first assert passes, and it does. Make an error to make sure, okay, everything is working. Okay, then I want to be sure that the context is the top level context and that the reason is command and the object is the get command. Okay, everything is passing as expected. Now, we want to test that this one. No. Okay. And also this test is passing because basically what we did was just to execute other 3 times the same command, and we want to have the first entry that is correctly having a count of 4. Okay. Now, let's make sure that multi-exec works as expected. Here we will have to test this in 2 different ways. The first one is when the error was catched directly when we are creating the transaction, and the second one is when we want the error to be when the error is trapped during the execution of the transaction, which is slightly more complicated. Maybe we have already tested here somewhere. Okay, but let's rewrite this from scratch. So the first one is easy. Okay, let's add multi-exec to the things that the user handlers can do. So exec will fail, and actually this will also generate an error at top level, and to make sure I'm testing for the right error here, I want to make sure that the object is inc. It's kind of because of previous errors. Okay, I want to also to catch the exec here because it will throw an error at me. Okay, but before testing these more advanced things, I want to test if we can see errors about the keys also. Okay, here we test grouping here. It makes sense because they are the same event repeated, but then we can test here ACL log is able to log keys access violations and key name. Okay, we have a pattern here where we can access only object 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will be easy. And we can execute set. So okay. And we can test two things here. The reason must be key. The object must be this key here. Let's see if it works as expected. Nope. Okay, works. Good. Okay, the second version of the transaction context is a bit complex to write because we want the first time it to pass, so we have to use a deferred client, a deferring client. Okay, this is going to be a bit more complex. So we create this the ferrying client basically is a different client that we can use in a non-blocking way to execute other commands which are outside the actual flow of the test. So this allows us to do things in the middle, because we start a transaction here, and then in the middle of the transaction we want to tell Redis other things to change its configuration. So we call this RD1, and the way you use the RD client is just like if it was a normal client, and then you read the reply like that, and then you close the deferred client. Otherwise, there is a leak of the client. Okay, so I start here by allowing a command that usually is not allowed for the user anti-reds. I allow it to execute ing, okay, and I can use the only key that we can use, which is this one. This time I do multi here, then I do ing this object one, and this is right now allowed because we whitelisted the ing command. And when we were about to execute exec here, we use the deferred client to change the policy again. Read the reply and discard it, we don't need any confirmation of this. Then we execute exec now, and it will throw an error. We no longer need the deferred client. And we should see still the multi here. It will never work at the first time, but let's try. Okay, invalid command name rd1. rd1, rd1, rd1. Works. Okay. We implemented a few tests, but we need more tests. We didn't test still the Lua scripting thing, right? Okay. By the way, here we restore again the user. Now we are going to just call eval okay. just update the old commit. Okay, we have some tests now, but are we testing enough of this feature? Oh, another test that we want to do here is okay. At this point, we should have multiple entries. We have just two actually, because we used reset recently enough, but we can create very easily. Okay, let's make this test a bit more robust. So authenticate, make sure that there are multiple errors, even assert about this, and we should be okay. Okay, and now we want to make sure that the length of the ACL log 2 is exactly 2 entries. Okay, I think that we wrote an acceptable number of logs, of tests. We will return to it again later in order to test multiple more things. Good. Stopping for now, probably we'll resume with this work later.